Before this episode starts, I just want to put a little disclaimer in there that the topic today is 10 things that I would tell myself, like my younger self. And these 10 points are directed towards younger me. They're not directed towards you. So if you don't resonate with any of these points, then that's okay. Don't take them very literally. They are directed towards my own self. I understand everyone lives different lives and has different circumstances where this might not be applicable to them. I just wanted to put that in there before we start the episode today, and I hope you enjoy. Hello everybody, how are we all? This is a new setup. Well, it's the same setup, but I've decided not to go through my laptop now and actually plug my microphone straight into my camera. So I really hope I don't film this full thing and then realise that it's not actually worked. So we'll try our best. I don't have headphones on, nothing to hide behind. I've got my orange juice behind me. And yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Motivate with Shan podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, then you'll have access to all 4 episodes now. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll only have access to this episode and the previous episode. So if you've not already listened to them, please go and check them out. You can listen to episode 1 and 2 on Spotify. The link will be in the description of YouTube, and episode 3 is on Spotify and YouTube, and this is episode 4. I'm actually keeping up with it so far, so good. And yeah, thank you all so much for your love on the previous episode. I got some really nice feedback from it. So yeah, I appreciate if you watched it. That was really nice of you. And yeah, in this episode, I'm a little bit more prepared. I've got my trusty list on my phone. I don't even know if you can see that on the video, but I've got my little talking points on my phone. So hopefully this episode will be a bit better than the last one. Anyway, I'm rambling and talking absolute nonsense as per usual. So yeah, let's get into it. Today's episode, I would like to actually talk about 10 things that I would tell my younger self. If I could get in a time machine, go back in time and tell my younger self some things, this is what I would tell me. And I highly encourage you, after listening or watching this episode, to go grab a pen and paper and write down your 10 things that you tell your younger self, because I actually found this process of planning this video very, very therapeutic. And yeah, I highly recommend doing it because it actually was really fun to do and really, I don't know what the word is, but like eye-opening or something, I don't know, like healing in a way, to like plan this video and come up with these 10 things. Let's get into it. I just needed to have a drink of juice there because I've only been talking for like 3 minutes and my voice is already going, which is not good because I have a gig on Saturday. And yeah, I keep forgetting I'm actually on camera and I'm like not even looking at the camera, but yeah. Okay, let's get into this podcast episode. So 10 things I would tell my younger self. Number 1, I've written here, things will get better and easier with the more life experience that you get. You will get more mature and secure in your own skin. So remember to be kind to yourself during your growing phases. Do what you need to do to heal. The brain development thing, when you hit 25, is 100% real. You're healing right now and learning and growing, and it's okay to get it wrong sometimes. You're so young. Have fun. Basically, this came from recently, all I've been thinking about, and I don't know whether it's some sort of like spiritual moment or some sort of lesson that I'm being forced to go through by the universe. But I've been getting a lot of like epiphanies, or I don't know if that's what you call them, but moments of deep thought about my younger self, and not necessarily regret of some things that I do, but like I would cringe at, like I used to cringe a lot when I think back to how I was when I was like 16, to how I was when I was 18, to how I was when I was 20, 21. Recently I've been thinking back and thinking and feeling kind of bad that I would cringe at that, because I'm starting to realise how young I was and how young I actually still am. And talking about that brain development thing when you hit 25, like, I don't know if that's what it is, but I do all of a sudden feel completely different. Like, things just make a bit more sense than how they used to be like 5 years ago or so. And now I'm looking back and I'm realizing that when I was in those years of my life, I was growing up. I was still learning, experiencing things, and I used to put myself down a lot and regret things that I would say or do and think back on them and cringe. And now that I'm older, I just want to go back and give myself a big hug because it was okay. Do you know what I mean? It was okay to be young and make mistakes and do daft things and be insecure, and it was all part of the process. It was all part of the journey. And I've definitely learned a lot from it, and I'm still learning a lot from it even now with some things in my life. And I try now not to be so hard on myself when I get it wrong. Like, I just take it as a lesson. And yeah, I would like to tell my younger self to stop putting herself down because it's fine. Like, it all works out anyway, kind of thing. Like, it's not that big a deal. Moving on to our second point, kind of ties in a little bit. The second point is no one cares. So make a start on your YouTube channel or whatever other goals that you have that you're scared people will judge you for. People will end up more supportive than you think they'll be. This point, oh my God. Like, if I had just started this channel or this podcast or any of the other things that I'm doing now 5-10 years ago, where I would be right now, like, I would be so much further ahead with it. But again, going back to the whole don't put yourself down thing, I was exactly where I needed to be in that moment, and I didn't do it for a reason. But the reason that I worried so much was obviously cringed at myself for everything that I did. So I always felt like someone was going to stumble across my YouTube channel, like someone from my real life, and wonder why the absolute hell is she doing that? Who does she think she is? Like, does she think she's famous or something? Like, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, people probably do think that, and they probably think that now. And I do think about it a lot, especially because I host karaoke in my local pub, and I do gigs, and I go to uni, and I see people a lot in my life, and there's people that I know that aren't necessarily close friends to me, but people that know me and I know them and I see them regularly, and I feel like, are they going to see that I do YouTube and think, why? Like, that kind of thing, why? But at the end of the day, that why is because I want to. Like, I want to do it. It's enjoyable for me to make videos. I do want to get noticed. I do want people to watch my videos, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm not doing it fully for the publicity or to become an influencer or anything along those lines. But of course that would be a fantastic opportunity, especially because I do acting and I do performing, and having a little bit of a following or some sort of like content on the internet, like people know who you are and your face is out there, it really does help when people watch your videos. But obviously that's not the main reason. I do actually fully enjoy the process of making my videos, editing them, filming them, and then uploading them, and then just seeing what other people think. It's enjoyable to me. So regardless of what other people think about why is she doing that, then it's kind of one of those things of like, if I went back in time and told my younger self to do it, that's what I would tell myself. Like, you love doing it, so who cares? But at the end of the day, when I'm saying this, I was so scared of what people would think of me when I wanted to make YouTube videos or whatever. And even recently, when I've been making vlogs or making these podcasts or whatever, and I share them on Facebook or I share them on Instagram, I just dread what my uni friends are going to say or what the people in my work are going to say. But then it always turns out positive anyway. Like the amount of positive feedback that I've gotten in regards to my YouTube channel or my podcast or any other endeavours that I've done where I've put myself out there, the feedback's always been great, and I've always been quite flattered and a little bit overwhelmed by it because it's not what I expected. And yeah, if you'll know who you are, if you're one of those absolutely amazing people who have complimented me on my channel or whatever in real life, then thank you so much, because it actually does validate me and make me feel like I'm not as silly as I feel in here by doing it. And the reason that I'm doing it is for my own self anyway. So it just kind of, it's a little extra bonus, you know, it's helpful when you get the good feedback because you feel better about doing it and it makes you want to do it more and it makes you enjoy it more as well. So yeah, no one actually cares. So here's another sign for you. I'm going to give you a sign in every single podcast, but here's another sign for you. If there's one thing out there that you're dying to do and all you can think about is, oh, but what's wee Sally in the pub going to say? Because I've posted a video of me dancing on TikTok and it's a bit cringy. Kill the cringe in you. Kill the absolute cringe in you and just do it. Because wee Sally might watch your video and then go, oh wow, she's a great dancer. He's a fantastic singer. They can really take pictures and edit videos really well. You never know what they're actually going to say. The negative comments are in your head first and foremost. And yet, that's not to say that people will always be nice. You may get some hate, but it's not as bad as you think. Honestly, it's not as bad as you think. You will be happier that you did it than whatever the hateful comments say, because the hateful comments are irrelevant anyway. They're just coming from a place of jealousy. They're just coming from someone who is insecure in their own skin. Don't be that person. Be the person who's brave enough to take that leap and do it. Anyway, number 3. Let's move on. Again, all of these points kind of link to each other. But yeah, number 3. You don't need to try as hard to make friends or make relationships work. The real ones will be there no matter what, and their journey will align with yours. Less friends are better than fake friends. Also, if they leave, let them. Don't force anything. The amount of times that I've started something new, whether it be, I moved school, I went to a new school, or started college, or started uni, started a new job, any walk of my life where I was with new people. I always felt like I had to make myself different so that these people would like me and want to hang out with me or want to get to know me, but it didn't work anyway. Like, I always was still the outcast. And I think it's because I was being fake and I wasn't really being me. I was putting up some sort of mask on myself to make people like me, to be a kind of way that I felt that they wanted me to be, if that makes sense. But the second I stopped that and I started just being me, people liked me more. People were more interested in what I had to say. I carried a lot more confidence with myself than when I tried to be someone I'm not. I think people are smarter than you think and they will see through that facade. So, like, what are you hiding? Like, you're amazing the way you are. Like, you don't need to hide. And anyway, if someone doesn't appreciate you for who you are and doesn't want to be your friend because that's who you are, then they're not in your path. They're not part of your journey. Just politely move on. Don't force anything. The right people that are supposed to be there will be there anyway. Now I have the real people that really actually care about me, and I don't really feel like I need to be liked anymore. Like, obviously it's not nice to be hated. It's not nice to be bullied, and it's like I was bullied all my life. But at the end of the day, as you get older, you kind of start to realise like how much you should have your own back instead. It's all about what you want to do with your life and your own journey. It's not about anyone else, and not about pleasing anyone else. And the real ones will stick about, and they'll support you and guide you, and you'll feel comfortable supporting and guiding them too, because it will be a balance. Which kind of leads me into my next point. It's basically the same thing, so I'm just going to read what I've wrote, probably not expand on it anymore because I've just expanded on it there. But number 4 is, it isn't your responsibility to make people like you. No matter what you do, they're going to make their own judgment of you anyway, so just be yourself. If someone doesn't accept you for who you are or treat you well and put your needs first, then walk away. You're the only person who will forever truly have your own back, so it's your responsibility to love yourself. There is only one you, and it's your life. Basically, don't people please. Like, I'm the biggest people pleaser out there. I still am. I'm really, really working on it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with people pleasing to an extent. Obviously, it's good to be a nice person. It's good to do things for others, but not at the jeopardy of yourself. So, for example, if you don't have the resources or the time or the energy or whatever to do something for someone else, then don't put yourself in a position of lack or loss just to help someone else, just for someone else's benefit. And that means physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, any way, form whatsoever. Only do it if it's right, kind of thing. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with compromising and doing things for the people you love, but there's definitely a balance. Like, would they do the same thing for you? Don't let people take advantage of you. And don't let anyone tell you how to be or what to say or what to do with your life. It's your life, you know. Don't settle for something that's not quite what you want just because your parents don't think it's right or your friends think it's weird. Just do it. Obviously, as long as it's legal and ethical and moral, you know. But, like, I'm very wary of saying that in case I'm enabling someone to do something bad. Obviously not. As long as it's morally right and legal and ethical, do you. Do what's right for you. And if someone's holding you back, then get rid of them. Don't just try and please just so that people like you. Don't try and keep people in your life just to fill a void. You will be okay on your own if you absolutely have to be. You won't be anyway, because there are people in your life that will have your back. Like, for me anyway, that's what I would tell myself. Okay, the next one. I think we're on to point number 6 now, which we're about halfway through. This is going to be a really long podcast, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Okay, number 5, sorry. We're on number 5, not number 6. Self-care is so important. Don't slack on it. Do your skincare, wash your face before bed, eat well, pamper yourself, and look after yourself. Make yourself the priority. If you aren't filling up your own cup, how can you fill up someone else's? Stop trying to people please and burning yourself out that you have nothing left for you. It's okay to rest. You don't have to constantly be working hard to achieve your goals. There is time to rest, and rest is important. You need it. Basically, I kind of spoke about this in the previous point as well, but I think here I want to expand a bit more on the rest part. For me, I always felt guilty when I would have a lazy day, or I'd sleep in, or I would need to go to bed early because I was exhausted. It would always be like a guilt that was kind of programmed into me of you should always be working hard to get what you want, especially in the industry of work that I want to go into, the performance industry. If any actors or performers are listening or watching this podcast, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. And if you do work currently in the industry, you'll know how tough that is too. You know, it's never stop. Just stop for a day. Stop. Chill out. And I haven't really spoke about this much on my YouTube or my podcast before. But for me, I am currently, well, I have been for years, trying my absolute hardest to get a referral for an assessment for autism. And while I was at college in Glasgow, I struggled a lot because of the demands of just academic studies, I'm struggling at the moment, but uni's a bit different. But at college it was a bit more full on, and it was very practical based, and it was very intense at times. And because all my life I've struggled with social aspects, communication, fitting in, never really truly understanding other people or the way of life, and I've got loads, so I could go into great detail about it. I actually might do a podcast on it. But at the time, I didn't really know what autism was. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't really researched it. I didn't really know anyone with it. And I just always thought, well, I was diagnosed with mental health issues. It must be my anxiety. It must be because I've got depression. And I went to the doctors, went on antidepressants, and they didn't help, obviously. They just made me worse. But I would constantly burn out and have days where I physically, and I mean physically, my body wouldn't move and I couldn't actually put together the reason why. And it wasn't until the pandemic, really, that I started kind of learning more about what autism is and what ADHD is. And I have done extensive research on the subject. However, many people, I'm sure, can relate to this. The assessment criteria for autism and ADHD is not geared towards grown women. It's pretty much designed to diagnose children, especially male children. And yeah, autism and ADHD present completely differently in adults and women and females. And yeah, it's very, very hard to diagnose and often misdiagnosed. And my journey with it has been very tricky. So yeah, recently though, I have been reflecting on my time growing up at college, etc., and now relating the reasoning to a lot of my burnouts and my struggles in general to that. And it's honestly been really freeing to accept, and knowing that I need the rest now. Like, I would constantly put myself down previously in my life because I needed more rest. But the reason I needed more rest is because my brain processes the world completely differently, and it's quite exhausting. And I think it's okay to take some time away to recharge and reset so that I can effectively handle the world and get a qualification or go to work and make some money or run my business or clean my house. It's quite tricky sometimes to manage all of these things when you're going through an extreme burnout and you're shutting down. And I think actually understanding my own self has made a massive difference. This is a whole other podcast topic, and I'm happy to go into it more if anyone would be interested in it, but I just wanted to touch on it a little bit with this point. But now I know that was probably the cause. Yeah, it's been reassuring a little bit. I don't feel like I'm being as hard on myself. It kind of links back to the first point with going back to old me and stop being so hard on yourself and stop putting yourself down for things you can't control. Like, rest is important. Rest is important for everyone. Neurotypical, neurodivergent, anyone. It doesn't matter. Just, you have to rest. You're human. And it's not, you shouldn't feel guilty for resting, for having a day off, I would tell my younger self to rest more and unapologetically rest more. Anyway, point number 6. We're going to move on to something a little bit different, a little bit more, well, it's still quite deep, but yeah. Number 6 is, don't be so scared of change. The change you dread could end up the best shift of your life. One door closes and another opens. Oh my God, the amount of times that this has been proven to me in my life and I'm only 26. Like, the amount of times that something's like ended, especially like breakups, like that's a big one. Like previous relationships that have broken up and ended, and it's been the worst heartbreak ever because I'm quite a big lover. I love love, and I'm a Pisces, so yeah, I feel things quite deeply. But it's been the worst moment of my life in that moment, and then something really, really good happens after it, and it's like you realise that that's why that happened, you know? Not even just that, like other things that have happened in my life, like I can't even think of an example, my brain's not working. But for example, when I moved back here from Glasgow, I didn't want to move back here from Glasgow. I wanted to stay in the city, but it was COVID and money and things like that. I kind of ended up back here and back home. And now I've got my house, my car, and if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have Freddie. And it's just mad to me that how my life would have been completely different, and I wouldn't have the things that I cherish and love so much right now. I wouldn't have my business. There's so many things that I wouldn't have right now if I didn't move back home. And there will be more things in the future that I'll go, well, that's quite sad that happened, but it may be the best shift in my life. It might dramatically shift my reality and make it better. It's more about trusting the process, trusting the universe, and letting it guide you through. Life's a journey, and yeah, loads of exciting things will happen, and it'll be unexpected, but when one door closes, another definitely opens. It's been proven to me so many times. I'm sure some of you guys can think of some examples of your own where that's been the case. It's like you've got to just guide your way through this life, and yeah, you'll end up where you're supposed to be. You're always where you're supposed to be anyway, so trust it. Number 7, trust your gut. It's right. There's no such thing as a wrong decision, only a journey that leads to right where you're meant to be, but with lessons to learn along the way. Every move is a step towards that and will bring about something you need to experience to learn and grow. Kind of links to point number 6, again, about don't be scared of change. Just go for it. You know, if you feel like something's for you, like you strongly can feel that in your gut, your intuition's telling you something, don't ignore it. Like, don't ignore it. The amount of times that I've ignored mine and then something's happened and it's been like, yeah, I should have listened to that. Especially in like a lot of situations in life where, especially relationships, where your gut's telling you something about someone and then they turn out to be exactly what you thought they were going to be, but you've ignored it and you've tried to be, those kind of situations too. But also in terms of making decisions about your life, if for example your gut's telling you that you want to go be famous, you need to go and make that happen because your gut's telling you that for a reason. I strongly believe that your intuition and your gut feelings come from your higher self. Again, another podcast, a completely other podcast topic I'm kind of going into here, but your higher self is that voice in your head, that gut feeling, your intuition, and that comes from your spirit guides, etc., and they are guiding you through this life, and they are telling you what to do next, and it's up to you. You still have the free will to decide whether you want to listen to it or not. But it's kind of like a tip, like if you're in a game and it comes up with a wee tip in the corner, that's what that kind of is to me. And if you ignore it, then that's fine. But you're going to have to navigate that situation yourself without the help. Whereas if you listen to it, you might be able to navigate the situation a little bit easier going forward. I hope that makes sense. I always worry when I make these podcasts that I'm not making sense and I'm talking nonsense, but yeah, that's what I believe anyway. Okay, number 8 is family and loved ones are so important, so cherish every moment with them. 100%. And the ones that actually do stick by you, like relating to my point earlier about the people that do support you and the people that will have your back and are meant to be with you through this journey, cherish them, because there may not be many of them. You may have loads of people on your side, which would be amazing, but you may not have many. But cherish the ones that are there. Love them with all your heart and make every moment count when you get to spend time with them, because they're on their own journeys too. And yeah, they're very important, and they will have your back when they need you, and you need to support them too. I would tell my younger self to do that more, because I feel like it's still something I'm even learning now, and it's something I'm kind of telling myself now. Make every moment count with your loved ones, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own heads with our own lives that we kind of forget that there's an outside world out there, and there's other people that are also wrapped up in their own heads and living their own lives. And it makes it a lot more easier when we support each other. So do that more. Okay, point number 9. We are on a floating rock in space, so it's not that deep. Take a minute to breathe and remember who you are, and spend some more time in nature. This is just a little note to me, even now and previous in my life, when things would get stressful, things would get overwhelming, things would pile up, and I would just take it so seriously, and like I would forget that literally it doesn't even matter. And like 3 weeks from now, that issue is going to be completely, it's out my brain. It's not even an issue anymore. So take a minute and take a deep breath. Go outside, breathe some fresh air, touch the grass, remember where you came from. Remember, nature exists. Not everything's on your phone. Not everything's on the internet, I know these things are very tricky, but it makes it a lot easier to deal with it when you take that moment to yourself to breathe. And then you can think rationally about how to resolve issues and problems. But I read a book that I would highly, highly recommend, by the way, called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And this book actually kind of inspired this point in the podcast. Basically, I read the book ages ago, so I can't quote it literally, I don't have it with me. The whole book is about living in the moment and mindfulness, and yeah, I highly recommend it, especially if you suffer from anxiety. It's one of those books that you have to read it a few times to actually get it, because it's so, a lot of information. But basically the whole point of that book is nothing is a problem until it is a problem. And I know it's very much easier said than done. 100%. Like, if you suffer from anxiety, yeah, that's tough. But it did put it into perspective for me a little bit, because it made me think, well, what can I actually do about these things right now? If there's something I can do about it, then do it. Like, why am I worrying about it? Just do it, If I can't do something about it, then it's out with my control. The only thing I can realistically do is ask for help or ask for support. So that's what you do in that situation, You don't worrying achieves nothing. That's not going to change. It's not going to change the fact that these things might happen, but you can, And your mind's a lot clearer when you're not worrying about things. That's what I've learned anyway. So, and just put that into perspective for me. I know some people have really big problems and issues in life, and it's easier said than done, 100%. But for the little things, it does help. The little things that are a bit irrelevant that I worry about, that are just so dumb sometimes, and then a few weeks later I think back and I'm like, why did I even worry about that? Nothing happened, Anyway, we're moving on to the last point of the podcast today. Point number 10. This is a little note to current me as well, but more specifically to me at 22, 23 years old. And when you think back to how young that is, anyway, you have time. You have time. That's it. You can work towards your goals at any age, but you must make a start to make things happen. So stop thinking about how much time you have left and just actually do it. 100%. Like, I feel like a theme going through this podcast today is just do it. Nike, just do it, Stop thinking about it and just bloody well do it, We spend so much time in our heads thinking and not enough time doing. And I think that's where we all get tripped up, because we're like, why is nothing happening for me? Why is my life a mess? Why am I not a superstar on stage, or I'm not making loads of money, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Why are you still thinking about it then? Make a plan. Figure out what it is, whatever steps it is you need to do to get there, and start making those steps. Because the tiniest little progress that you can make is a step towards that overall goal. And you'll thank yourself later for making those tiny steps. So just make those tiny steps. Stop waiting for something to happen before you can do something else. Just do what you can. Because there will be something you can do. You can sit down with a pen and paper, write your to-do list, figure it out, type it up, plans, what it is you want, make a goal, set a goal, set a deadline, and just do it. Nothing is unachievable. Sometimes it's your mindset that's tripping you up. And for me, I know that was a big one. I held back a lot because I was worried what people thought. I was worried about not having the right resources to do it, or time to do it, or maybe I was too old to do it now, But I'm not. I'm only going to get older though. So if I don't make the steps now, then that problem is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So just blimmin' well do it. That's all I've got to say to younger me. Just do it. End of story. Anyway, that has come to the end of today's podcast. It's a long one today. I think once I edit this down, it won't be quite as long as the camera's telling me right now. We're nearly an hour. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please check out the other episodes, follow, subscribe, etc. wherever you're listening or watching this video or listening to this podcast right now. And yeah, leave a comment, share it with your friends who you think it might be beneficial to. And thank you so much for listening. I'm not quite sure what the next topic will be, but I think I've decided that a podcast episode is going to go up every 2 weeks on a Thursday. So the next one will be in 2 weeks from now, which, bear with me and I'll get the date. The next date this will be uploaded will be the 11th of April. Wow, that's mad that we're in April already. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the next episode, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any topic suggestions or whatever, then feel free to leave a comment, shoot me a message or whatever with some suggestions. And yeah, see you soon. Goodbye.